Ross, what's up, man? What's good with you, bro?
First and foremost, I want to go ahead and give thanks for you hosting us on your platform, man. You know what I'm saying? Me and you both, we watch Power, we watch Snowfall, we get into black literature, we get into everything black. That's us.
Mm-hmm.
And so for you to allow me to host this on your platform, to talk about my book based upon Chicago, the Chicago urban inner city, and the effect Snowfall had on me. Much love and respect for that, bro.
Oh, no problem, man. At the
Yeah,
end of the day, we scratch each other's backs, and this is a brotherhood, man. So we are definitely gonna help each other out, and we're definitely gonna make sure that we push each other no matter what. And to me, it's not about who has more subs or who doesn't. It's more so about genuine brotherhood, and it's about basically helping people out. Because right now, it's not even just more so the book itself, because your book is gonna do transcending things in terms of helping young black men, helping young black women, helping the black community. It's more so about us making people understand more in depth what your book is about, so people
right.
can go and get the book.
So this book right here, I've been writing in my head for because that's why the way I write is I visualize the book,
Mm-hmm.
not the words. I visualize the scenes,
Mm-hmm.
and I visualize the course of actions from the beginning to end. And
Yep.
the book writes itself because every scene needs some type of dialogue, it needs some type of imagery, right? But I
Fact.
visualize what I want the character to go through, what I want them to feel, what I want the people to feel, this, that, and the
Mm-hmm.
third. And so by the time I sit down to write it, I've already got most of it in my head. You know what I'm saying? But
Facts.
this book was so near and dear to things I actually been through that I didn't know whether I wanted to actually release it.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? It was
I
like
got you.
because there's some of these things that are some of the shit that I'm writing in this book actually happened. Like everything actually happened in some form of way. Because in the inner city, damn near anything can happen. But some of the things that happen actually happen in my real life. It may be personal to other people. That's why I make sure to
Mm-hmm.
change names and things of that nature. So I was like, damn. But the last scene of Snowfall, when I see that scene, I said,
Mm-hmm.
I have to release this book. I have to.
So did the last scene bring back a lot of um like trauma, and then also a lot of recall from past experiences of what you experienced in life?
A lot, man. The last scene fucked me up so much that that was all I could think about for a whole week.
Damn.
Cause I
It damn
actually,
sure showed. It damn sure showed in your content. I could say that.
I actually, I actually came home and seen friends like that.
Damn.
I actually came home, or I didn't come home, but I actually found my mother in situations like that. I've actually
Damn.
came home from the Navy and was a functioning alcoholic. I was clean, I wasn't dirty, but the Navy was. I had I had to lean so much for alcohol to cope with the Navy that my friends were seeing like I wasn't the same. The Navy had changed me. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So um, I was like, damn, how do I write this? And how do I add this to my story? So what I did was I started the story. First, I just start the story just a kid that's growing up and getting to. I started the story as the end product. He's already an alcoholic,
Mm-hmm.
and the story is him just alcoholics and drug and dope fiends. They relive some of their past when they talking to you and shit.
That's true.
But a lot of people think they're lying because you can't see this person used to be that.
Mm-hmm.
But one person could be two things. One person could be two things depending on what paradigm they're at. By the time
Fact.
you meet them, they could be a totally, completely different person. It doesn't mean they wasn't that back in the day. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So I start the story from that perspective. Basically, I start the story where they leave Franklin off.
Mm.
So now what you're doing, you're seeing eyes through a Chicago, basically Chicago Franklin. How did he
Got
get there? What happened? What led up to that? You know what I'm saying? um, the pitfalls, the shit he had to do. What breaks a man to where they just become an alcoholic and they don't care about nothing else?
Yeah.
What PTSD are they going through? You know what I'm saying? What heartbreaks? Who did he have to cross? Who crossed him? What happened in his early childhood development? A lot of people don't realize is a lot of people when they saw Snowfall, they were turned off by the rape scene. What they don't realize is the majority of people who are hardcore killers, this is statistics. They either been molested or raped or neglected in some way. It's not natural to be a hardcore killer capable of cold-blooded murder. That's not even natural. Most people kill out of self-defense.
Yep, that's true.
Most people can't even kill out of most people who kill out of self-defense, they kill you on accident. Most people aren't even capable of cold-blooded murder.
Mm-hmm.
It's either they're born with something missing, or they've been handled in such a way to where that part of their consciousness is shut off.
Yep.
And that happens over a course of time. So what I do is I don't start you off with a cold-blooded murder. I show you how it got that way, and I use some of my personal background to do it because I wasn't a violent kid. I grew to be violent from coming in new neighborhoods, being from another neighborhood, but going. That's a big thing in Chicago. Going to a school in another neighborhood, because we're all on the west side, but where I'm from, we act different from where they at. And people are like, yeah, just 8 blocks that way west, they act different than where we act with Chicago Avenue. Chicago Avenue, everything is a hustle. It's about hustling, and the gang shit is secondary to the money. But in K-Town, when I was going to school at, gang shit is number one. You know what I mean? It's number one. Their neighborhood is number one. No, their neighborhood is number one. Gang shit is number 2. Because there's different gangs in that neighborhood, but K-Town stick with K-Town. And then number 3 is the gang shit. I mean, number 3 is the money. So I'm going to a whole other environment. And they could tell, they could smell it on me. I'm not from over there. So I'm going from a person who's already culture shock because I just got into foster care. Now I'm going to a whole nother different environment to where I have to learn about these gangs now that I know shit about. I got to learn about this neighborhood. I got to learn fast. You know what I'm saying? And I'm learning school of the hard knocks. I'm fighting.
Brick by brick.
Again, jumped on this shit and fighting every motherfucker. This shit is making me hard and not care about shit. You know what I mean? So I use some of that personal experience in this character's life, you know, to show you how this shit happens. People don't just become murderers. You know what I mean? It's a gradual process. You know what I'm saying? And but I think I think me telling it from an alcoholic's point of view or somebody who's considered a has-been would hit harder because people walk past alcoholics every day. We walk past the poor people every day.
Right.
The drug addicts every day, and they to the point where they kind of, not to me because I've been homeless before, but to the average person, a drug addict kind of blends in with the scenery. It's kind of like you don't see him. You can just walk right over. You can just walk right past them. But when I'm trying to do, my intention is to humanize that person, and to humanize, not make excuses for it, not coddle the drug dealer or the murderer, but to humanize them for you to see this is how this happens. This is how a girl may become a prostitute. Think an 8-year-old girl didn't think about selling her body. What happened? These are the things we do. Oh, that girl, she a hoe. How she become a hoe? Girls will just be hoes?
Yep.
Where the hell she learned that from? You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Niggas don't come up the womb selling drugs. They learned it. They seen it. They've been around that environment. You know what I'm saying? And seeing the end of Snowfall, that made me say, man, if I hold on to this, I'm doing myself a disservice as a writer, and I'm doing my community a disservice.
Yep.
I gotta let this go, man. So
Yep.
so I gotta ask you, how did you feel about that last scene on Snowfall?
Whew. Uh, man, so many things. From a life perspective, a letdown, man. I mean, you family. The first one was family. Um, the mom has two sides to her,
Right,
and she's struggling with trying to figure out with those two sides which side is quote unquote the good side and which side is the bad side.
right,
And a lot of us, all of us, as a matter of fact, all of us through one phase of our lives, whether if it was just for a phase or whether if it was just years or whether it was just a situation we were going through, we would second guess ourselves. So that second guessing, everybody's done it at some
right,
point. But with her, you could tell that is a trauma that she's experienced from early onset childhood that she carried over into her child. It
right,
became her who she is, and then she felt she had to do it with him because that explains why she made the decision she made at the end to then act like she was doing something good in his benefactor, but in actuality, she did more harm.
right,
Because once you sided with the fact that and came to terms that this is who he is, that's when you have to come into that acceptance that this is my son. And if I go about it any other way outside of this,
right,
I'm going to be cutting against the grain, or I'm really going to be hurting that relationship. And I'm not really going to be helping a relationship that really is cultivated behind that bond that we just created in terms of me finally accepting him. Because there in the season past, when she finally came into the acceptance of who he was and they were working together like a black mom and a black son like you've never seen before.
right,
She was building him up. She was making sure that he had a strong voice. She gave the motherly advice. She made sure to tell him what she needed to tell him at the moments that she needed to tell him that. And then they went on. And he gave her a responsibility, which I had liked because she played a traditional woman's role in the sense that she didn't she wasn't leading over him,
right,
but she was supporting the elements that made more sense to her as a woman and her feminine ways and how she could go about it. Like the way that she could smoosh, some elements of his business. It needed a woman's touch.
right,
Whereas opposed instead of Franklin and his calculated mindset or him just in general as a man presenting himself like when he went in front of the older businessman, I can't think of the guy's name. The mom was the one that was the buffer
right,
for that dude
right,
because it just made more sense for her to be the one to present herself. So I like that dynamics in the sense of when they worked together, his business was prospering like it never prospered. And the mom was also showing his wife how to be with him in terms of how a woman should be with a man, so to speak. So all of those dynamics were working well.
right,
Then she flips the script, and here's the last scene. She goes into this recall where she's thinking about her husband. But the reason why her husband has the mindset to be like that is because he's always been like that. He was a Black
Black
Panther.
Panther, yeah,
He was a civil rights person. He was always about bucking against the system. So
right.
his mentality never wavered.
He was always the same. Right.
It may have softened in the sense that he is softened because he wanted the relationship with his son, but his
As a man,
mentality never changed.
he realized this is what my son is.
Yes,
I don't like it. I'm still gonna fight against it, but I'm not necessarily gonna fight against him. But I'm still gonna,
exactly.
in my own way. He's gonna know how I felt. But I think this is my theory on Sissy. I believe what I understand about mental conditions. I believe Sissy was a narcissist, and and the reason why I say that is I think Franklin wasn't his own person to her. He was an extension of her. He wasn't. He wasn't a a separate entity. Because that's how narcissists see things. They don't see people as people. You're an extension of them or you're nothing. You know what I'm saying? When she had control over Franklin, when he was just her little boy, she cuddled him and she was loving on him and picking shit out of his hair and blase blase. When she started to become a man, a young man, and started to oppose her views, which young men do, she started acting aggressively with him, like she did his father. So in the beginning, she didn't want his father nowhere near him, right? When she couldn't have a relationship with his father, no, you can't be here. Don't talk to him. Blase, blase, blase. Once they started to have a budding relationship again, now she ain't care what Franklin. Mind you, raised him up to disrespect his father openly. You remember the scene where he opened it? You raised him up to be that way, then you switch all of a sudden and say, "Oh, he's back in our lives. We gotta accept this."
Yep.
But a narcissist would do that because what you think don't matter. It's what I think.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And how I feel. I'm not talking about people who have narcissistic tendencies. I'm talking about a full-blown narcissist could live both ways simultaneously, and it don't mean nothing because they don't care. It's about the
and I can see why you tied that to her being a narcissist.
Yeah.
But that last scene to me showcases, because I've dealt with that personal trauma from that, just with women in general. May not be a mom, but women in general do that, man. They gaslight you, whether if it was in relationships,
But
whether
a
if it
lot
was
of them are
in general.
narcissistic too.
Yeah, they'll be one way, but then when they get this quote unquote, oh, I have this enlightenment, all these women do this shit, and they all are like that. And that's one thing that I can say, they all are like, they have this moment in their life where I have this awakening and I want to be different. Then they gonna hit you with some different shit.
Yeah.
And you as the man, and this is the thing why this is why I say men and women are not equal. Men have to not only deal with understanding that we have to adjust in our mentality and the way that we do things, we also have to make the adjustment, even when the adjustment is not advantageous to us.
Right.
The woman, on the other hand, when she does make the adjustment, she's always going to make sure that she made the adjustment to where the adjustment, she can land on her feet.
Right.
And when Sissy did that, she knew that adjustment was going to land her on her feet, because that was going to be her way of bringing Franklin back to him being the little boy that needed his mom all over again. Yeah. And that was very apparent, because what happened?
That's why I said
Franklin went to the jail cell. He went to the jail cell talking shit. But people don't realize when Franklin did that, there was a lot of mom and son, or mommy and little child things going on there. When Franklin's going in there, losing control and just running his mouth and being angry or whatever and talking, right?
Because he was broken
down. That
was
what she wanted. She wanted him to be that way, because that's how, like you said, it goes back to your point. She saw him as the little boy, and the only way she could see him as that little boy again and bring him back to that little boy state was to break him down like that. And that's selfish, and that goes to why you said narcissist, and that's actually the right term. Right. But I'm gonna throw another one on top of that. She was actually being histrionic too, because a histrionic,
very histrionic.
Yeah, histrionic is a narcissist that has crazy tendencies, that has insane tendencies, that has disturbed tendencies, and that can go from 100 to 0 while they're controlling the situation at the same time, and then make the situation all about themselves in a very self-absorbed way. Right. And that's what she did. She did a combination of both, and it fucked him over. And you could tell it fucked him over, because you saw how he acted at the end, right? Where he just kind of was just like, for the first time in Franklin's ever life, Franklin just said, you know what, fuck it. That's why you saw he looked like D. Jefferson at the end. He had the white tee.
He said, fuck it, because
Apple, everything.
Because in Franklin's mind, if I'm Franklin, in his mind, he's like, I could have did all this without y'all. I wanted y'all to succeed with me. Yep. But this is the reason why you're able to hurt me. Not because I'm weak, but because you're my mom. And you just withheld something from me that I worked for that was gonna he was about to get the type of money that could have helped his mother out in that
Yep.
predicament. He probably could have
Yep.
got her out of jail, but he could have got her a lighter sentence. She said fuck all that just to have her. She couldn't get her way. Because this is the thing is, you want to know why she really did that? Because narcissists don't give a fuck as long as they feel emotionally secure.
Right.
She knows this whole all this shit is she's a big part of all this. She withheld her son from the father. She didn't fully support her husband as a Panther. She left her husband as he was going to war with the. She abandoned him. That's how he became an alcoholic. She abandoned her husband, but she's not going to take accountability for that. She put all that on Franklin, and because she couldn't get her husband back, she viewed Franklin as an enemy.
Yep.
Because before Teddy tells her, "I know where Austin is," she's telling Franklin, "Man, just let Teddy go. Just forget about everything. We're gonna go to Cuba." That's what she's saying. Until Teddy says, "Man, listen, you think Austin's dead, but he's not dead." Now all of a sudden, she want to hear Teddy out.
Yep.
All of a sudden, she want to make sure that she goes with him to do the drop. Once he gets to the drop, and Teddy had nothing else to lose. He lost. Franklin won. That's a war scene. When they come and they do the negotiations, I won. This was y'all own me. Blah, blah. Franklin had won that war. That's what it's about. Every time somebody wins a war, the generals come together and they write out shit. Who gets what? Blah, blah, blah. Franklin had won. Franklin's about to get the spoils for his victory. She ruined that. You want to know why she ruined that? Because in her mind, she can't take accountability for what she did and the role she played. Franklin's the reason why I don't have Austin. So because she could have killed him after she got the money. She could have killed him. She made sure he did not get that money.
So let me create collateral damage.
And also, two birds with one stone. He can't get what he wants. He can't be independent and do so. Now he's been acting like he didn't need me this whole time. Now he's got to come back crawling to me. Even if she has to go to jail and live the rest of her life in the jail cell, she kept him from getting what he wanted. That's all she cared about.
Yep.
She, as a mother, she knew exactly how to break him, and she did it, which makes her diabolical.
Yep. And what it also spoke to is the very thing that you work hard for to build up. This is why, even in scriptures, it tells you that, man, you can't be so attached feelings-wise to those people. The only person who really should have all of your feelings and your attachment should be God, man. That's it. Yeah. Because God loves you unconditionally. He's not going to ever cheat you. He's not ever going to, treat you in a very mistreating fashion or anything like that. And there's actual scripture. It's not coming on top of my head, but there's actual scriptures where a man is not supposed to be even giving out emotions and feelings to that degree, especially when it comes to a woman. And that includes your mother. Shoot, Yahweh shot when he was on the planet. And even when he was dealing with his mom, and the mom was like, "But I'm your mother," and he was like, "Well, who is my mother?" The questions that he asked with that.
Right.
Like, I'm here to fulfill my mission. I'm here because I was sent for a purpose. What he was basically saying was, it's not that you're not my mother. It's just you don't come before my purpose.
Right,
you don't come before my mission.
Right.
You don't come before my accomplishment.
Right. I have things
I'm here to do something here. Yeah. Everything else comes secondary to that. And that's what, in that scene, that lesson that we all could learn, because there's a lesson even for Franklin to learn. And Franklin had got to a point where what his intentions weren't wrong, but it was kind of Deontay Wilder-ish, like what we talk about, where you become too trusting or you become too invested in people to the point where you give them too much delegated authority to where they can turn around and screw you back with that shit.
Yeah.
And that's what he did with his mom. He's thinking, I'm raising you up, building you up, making you part of the business, because that's what he did, man. He really brought his mom. Not only did he give her money, most people just give their mother money and then just say, "Hey, mom, you just be a mother and I'll make sure you get an allowance. No,
Right.
he brought his mom up, gave her an elevated position within his organization, and had her run inner workings of his affairs.
Yeah.
When you do that, you also put yourself in a compromising position. Now, was he wrong for doing that? No,
Nah,
but
hell no.
it teaches you a cardinal lesson. The
He
cardinal
should be.
lesson is,
He should be able to do that, but he has a black family,
but here's the thing, Ross.
and we're taught to tear each other down.
But here's the thing, Ross. It speaks to that point that you always say, where you say, this is why you don't mix business with pleasure or business with family.
Right.
That's a perfect reason. The Franklin situation was a perfect reason of that. Because when shit hit the fan, what ultimately ended up happening? The same people that he was helping, the same people he was bringing elevated positions, the same ones that left him high and dry and screwed him over.
Yep. The only reason why I say, that's not a mistake is because theoretically, if you can't do that with your family, you are they have a dysfunction. You're doing what a man's supposed to do. A man's supposed to provide. You're providing. Them not being able to accept that, and them getting to the point where they feel emboldened enough to work against you, doesn't mean you did something wrong. It means It means they are wrong. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Any black man who provides for his family should never have to worry about his family turning against him. You know what I mean?
And you're right. Nobody should have to worry about that.
You have to worry about that. You know what I'm saying? But the problem is,
but Cece was telling him who Cece was telling Franklin all this time who she was, and I understand why he ignored it, because that was his mother. But Franklin cannot say that he did not know that she was telling him who she was all this time. She was basically telling him, I'm wishy-washy, I'm double-natured, and I think two ways.
Definitely.
And with him being a drug dealer, the only reason why it's just my one critique of Franklin. Outside of that, he handled the situation well because of the sensitivity of the nature of the job that you do. When you have somebody like that that's not absolute and resolute on your corner, when shit hits the fan, it's not a situation where you could say that you didn't know. You knew that person was like that the whole time. Heck, he had to even convince his mom, in order for her to be in the elevated position she was in, he had to do the convincing to even get her to that point. Like, she was even against that. Like, she was rebellious against that. And I know why he did all of that. That's his mother. But I do feel like it was a blind spot to it, so to speak. That's all I'm saying.
When you grow up and your mother is a narcissist, it's always going to be a blind spot, because you're not being raised like a normal person. You're being raised to AQS and to accept mental abuse. That's normal to you. It's normal for your mother to to what's the word? Triangulate you and other people. You grow up. That's a normality. You don't. That's not. It's not somebody on the outside looking in and be like, come into a new situation. Like, well, hold on, what's this? From the time you were a kid, you think that just started when he was 18? No, she been triangulating him and his dad. Narcissists do that off the rip. They always triangulating people. You know what I'm saying? Yep. That's how they control the situation. You notice she couldn't have. She was the reason why Franklin didn't like his father. She could have easily mended that situation. She kept it contentious on purpose, so she could control both.
Yep.
But when you grown up that way, you can't see it. You can't see it until you leave that environment and come back and be like, hold on, this shit is crazy. Why do you think he started elevating the fastest when he was away from his mother?
Yeah.
He shot up because he didn't have to worry about, he fended for her, but he didn't have to worry about the day-to-day baggage that she was bringing upon him.
That's what I'm saying. He was more level-headed, and he was able to really lock in and focus. She actually came in, and she came in and she became a drag, man. She came in and actually, you would think that she came in and helped. She actually came in and made it worse.
She came
because
in
he had to constantly coddle her ego, and then at the same time reassure her over and over and over again. it got to a point where the shit was starting to get annoying, man. And then I said to myself, there was one point in the show I was saying to myself, but see, this is the one thing that I could say, maybe it's just the way he is. Maybe it's just Tariq is like that. But there's one thing that I had liked about Tariq more than I had liked about Franklin. Tariq, when it came to his mom, he just knew when she was just baggage, and he just knew at some point when he was in college, he just knew like, okay, all right, you did fuck me up, I did acquiesce to you or whatever, but if I'm gonna make this shit happen, like I can't have you around, and I can't be
Yeah,
dealing with.
but he found out about that shit way too late.
He did.
Tariq got finesse. Tariq killed his own daddy. Franklin would never do no shit like that.
He did. He did.
Yeah.
He did. That part. I'm glad you said that.
Right. So they're not on the same. They're not on the same level at all.
I'm not putting them on the same level. I'm not putting them nowhere near on the same level. I'm just saying that because of the fact that she did that to him, right, and she put him in that position, he gave the natural response to that. Okay, you fucked me up. You put me in a position to where I killed my dad. Now, because of the fact that you thought that you was gonna control me, you won't be able to control me. I'm an adult. I'm gonna do shit my way. I have to live with these results, but I have to do shit my way.
Right.
And he just made sure that he separated her from what he was doing. Now, yes, the damage is done. All I'm saying is with Franklin, I would have wanted that. I would have wanted to see that Franklin just said, okay, you're just my mother. I know the writing of the show didn't do that, and the writing of the show wrote it the way that it did.
They have to write it that way.
In all honesty, that version of the way it was written is reality to a lot of people.
Right. So majority.
So I'm gonna be honest. That's a reality to a lot of people. So they wrote it that way purposefully. All I'm saying for me, I would have wanted for Franklin to come to terms and eventually stand up, because his mom is like the bully. You know how when somebody's the bully and you got to stand up to the bully.
Well, he did that several times, but that's his mother. He kept letting her back in. He did that several times. There were several times where he was like, "Man, I bought you a house and you sit here complaining about the shit. Well, fuck it then." You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? But it's reality, because in reality, no matter how toxic your mom is, especially if you're a first generation millionaire. So all this is new. You know what I mean? Like, Tariq had who? He had his father to look up to. His dad had Kanan to look up to. Kanan see other niggas in the street. They seen years and years of niggas failing to know what to do, what not to do. Franklin is number one. He's the first of his kind. You know what I'm saying? Like, he has no person before him. He's number one. And like, no one else has lived that in his life and his generation. So for him, it would be unrealistic for him to cut his mother out of his life forever, and to be able to break down, oh, she a narcissist, I got to cut her off forever. That wouldn't even be realistic. You know what I'm saying? At some point,
I'm not saying to yeah, I did it. I'm not saying for her to for him to cut her out. You know what I'm saying? What I'm saying is just know that it's okay for her to just be your mother, man. Like, she don't need to be in all of the fucking business aspect of it, because she's wishy-washy. I'm not saying to cut the mom out, but she was already showing that, man. She was showing that shit from the season 1, episode 1. I remember going back. I said, let me see when she was like this. She was like that from there, bro.
She did that from the beginning. But what I keep telling you is, until you become you can't see it.
Mm-hmm.
You can certain things about your parents you can't see until you become grown. And I'm sure you experienced that. Like, you might know a little bit about it. Oh, she funny, but you can't really see that, because all of us have a side where we could be diabolical. You can't really see that side until you become a grown man and be like, oh shit, she was doing some extra shit when she did this. You know what I'm saying? You can't really see that part. You know what I mean? And you can't really see the part of why they really like that. You know what I mean? Until you become a grown man, like, oh, okay, I don't forgive her for doing that, but I see why she did that now. Why you get because you don't know your parents' backstories. You know what I mean? Until you become a grown man, you might hear a backstory, or then you're like, oh, all this shit makes sense now. You know what I'm saying? But the way I look at it is, I feel like this. When she re-entered, and this is the thing, Franklin has so. It's hard to say somebody love for their family is a bad thing, but he has so much love for his family that he gave them the loyalty. He gave them loyalty that they can never give him. You know what I'm saying? Because he was like, man, I would never do this to my family. So there's no way she could do this to me. You know what I'm saying? But when she re-entered from being gone so long, I feel like that's when the shit should have started turning. But when she came in initially, she came in as just wanted to be his mother again. You see how she slid in there? She slid in there.
I'm glad that part. And I get what you're saying from that standpoint. His genuine nature. That's why I likened it to Deontay Wilder, the boxer, because some people are like that,
I don't
man.
like that because Deontay Wilder has white people around him. Those ain't his family members, and he's not bright. Franklin is bright.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about not the intelligence and not the people that's surrounding. I'm talking about the character of just basically having that unconditional love mindset that this is my family, regardless. You know, I gotta elevate them, I gotta build them up.
Yeah, but the difference is that is Franklin's real family. These are some people he met along the way.
Yeah,
these some niggas he just met. So white.
No, but I'm talking about the way I'm talking about with Deontay Wilder and the way that Deontay Wilder dealt with the black boxing community fan base and how even the ones that had hidden agendas, he was unconditional with them. I'm talking about from that standpoint. I'm likening it to that. Yeah. Like they have that same mindset. Like they're not seeing it too big in their mind. It's simple for them. Like, hey, I'm gonna rock with you, you family. I'm gonna rock with you. Period.
Yeah.
And I feel like when you have that mentality and you rock with people like that, it's a great character trait to have. It makes you a great person. But I do feel like certain elements of it creates a blind spot to where people can use that, especially if people have that mentality to use it to their advantage, they will do that. And that's what his mom was doing throughout every episode and the seasons. She was using that shit to her fucking advantage.
But what makes it so dope and the reason why it hits so hard is because that's so prevalent in the black community that most black men don't even pick that up. They think his mother did right by him. And that's why it's great writing. Because majority of black men don't know their mother. A lot of their mothers were using them for their own benefit. It didn't give a fuck about either purposely or not knowing how, because nobody cared about them. Didn't give a fuck about them personally. It was all about how can I leverage this? How can I leverage him to get at his daddy? Or how can I leverage this to get my way? Damn, I got all these kids. I can't really get to work. Who's going to watch these kids? How can I leverage my eldest son to take care of me?
Yep.
And not have a life of his own.
Yep.
And they don't miss that because they miss all that because they were raised that way, so that's normal. Franklin was wrong. Because in their mind, how could Sissy be wrong? That's mama. Mama ain't never wrong. You see what I'm saying? Franklin was wrong. Or Franklin, Sissy ain't do nothing wrong. Franklin was supposed to predict that she was going to take away $73 million from him. How can you predict that?
Yep.
Because all the fuck she got to do is just sit there. And that's her son. You think he ain't going to break her off a couple of million?
Facts.
She didn't give a fuck because she couldn't have her way.
Yep.
And she couldn't live with the regret because at the end of the day, she kind of feels like you notice. Here's another thing that goes with my my theory of this. When the show first started, her hair is processed. She wears her hair like permed out and shit. Mm-hmm. Slowly but surely, when Austin starts coming back in her life, she starts turning more into the woman she needed to be. What Austin was a Panther. Started wearing her hair more natural. Started leaning towards his ideology and shit. That's who he needed to be. she was regretting basically. And by the end, when she pulled that bullshit, she got a whole 1960 afro now.
Yep.
Because she done took on his ideology. This what Austin would do if he had a chance. Austin would kill him at the detriment of her own fucking son.
Yep.
So she can live with her regret because she low key feel like she the reason why he ended up dead.
Yep.
And that's the only way she can live with it is if she killed the man who killed him and also make sure her son don't get the money.
But does that mean you really love your son, or does that mean that you are self-absorbed and you have a blind sense of what you think love is? Like that.
Narcissists don't love nobody. They love the way people love them.
Okay.
So if a narcissist love the way you love them, they will love the way you love them. So it'll feel like they love you until you do something they don't like, or until the love ain't the same.
Yep.
Until you're not able to, so they can't just direct you. They can't just, hey, do this, do that. Now all of a sudden, there's friction there. You know what I mean? Now all of a sudden there's an issue, blase. And that's the reason why throughout the book, there's a mentor that comes into the main character's life, and he kind of manipulates him at his lowest point. And this guy blindly follows that mentor, but it gets to a point to where there's contention. And at that point, everything flips like that, because this guy never was really fucking with him like that. He was just using him the whole time. And when people use you, you're not a person. You're a tool. A tool is an extension of your hand. A hammer is an extension. A screwdriver, all that shit. You're not a person. You don't contain a soul. So I loved you, and I showed you all this love, as long as you was doing what I told you to do. But the minute he says, "Man, I don't think that's a good idea," shit hit the fan, just like that.
It hit the fan.
You know what I'm saying?
And you make, and that's a great point that you said and you made, but you know, and it speaks to what you was talking about. But that was the one thing, man, the whole time. And you know, everybody's different. And I like that they made the storyline that way, because that reality, unfortunately, is damn near in over 80-something% of black homes, man. That Franklin dealt with the way that he dealt with his mom and the way that the relationship was written out. I came to terms with that. I came to terms with that reality, that they didn't fairy tale it. And I think that's what made the show authentic, and it hit home with people. And they didn't try to make it seem like, well, Franklin was going to figure a way out, because that's what a lot of shows like to do. They always want to give you a TV show version of, you know, the protagonist has to win. You know, he has to always get a W. When in actuality, that's not always the case. In reality, people are going to get more L's than they will get W's, because with a W, you only need to get one of those, and one sticking version of those W's for it to last. But the L's are going to come, and they're going to come in multiple numbers. They're going to be L's here. There's going to be L's here. There's going to be L's there. It's like, for instance, one of these chicks that I was dealing with, she hit me up. Was it yesterday? We was going through it. Was talking yesterday like crazy, man. And I was laughing because her whole thing, and I knew her whole thing was, okay, well, I want to get a phone bill, and I want to get some PayPal money sent to me, but I'm gonna try to finesse it to where I'm gonna, you know, try to see if I can get him to sex me up again and all this other stuff. I started laughing because I knew that's what the intentions were by their tone. See, everybody has their tone. You know somebody, you know the way that they operate or whatever. And she didn't like the fact that from day one, I told her, the way you look, the way you dress, the way you carry yourself, this will never be anything serious. It's just gonna be, I'm gonna be fucking you. That's it.
Right.
And she never liked that I told her that, right? She never liked that I put her in that box. Because she's like, oh, I want a long relationship. You don't dress like you want a long relationship. You don't look like you would a long relationship. You don't act like you would a long relationship. You look, you dress, and you act like someone that I really just need to be fucking when the lights are out, when it's dark. Like I don't need you. I don't need to have you on my arm where people can see that I'm with you. That you're that type of person. So then she tried to say, well, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to be in a relationship. I said, okay. I let her talk, but in my mind, like I didn't hear this shit before again.
Right.
And then she said, um, oh, I'm ready to submit. I'm ready to this. I'm ready to do this. I'm ready to be that traditional woman. Everything she's saying in a very sarcastic tone. I'm laughing my ass off because in my mind, I'm like,
Because
if you have to tell,
you hear the microaggression.
yeah, I'm in the
Yeah.
micro, and in my mind, I'm like, if you have to tell me these things, that means you are not that.
Right. You hear the microaggressions. You're like, hold on, man.
Yeah,
Um,
if you have to tell me that, that means that you're. If you
that
have
means
to
you're
tell
making
me
an
that,
exception to do it. If you make an exception to do that, it's not going to work. That's going
it's
to be a
not gonna
party.
fucking work.
That's
And
going to be
and
a
this
party.
is and this is when I said to myself, you know what? I said, okay, she's full of shit.
Right.
So this is what I told her. I said, okay, then you got to come here. You got to come here. We're gonna do our thing, and then after that, I'll think about it. So she came over. We did our thing, and then right when she was getting ready to decide whether if she was gonna tell me right then and there, okay, so are you gonna hook me up with this? Are you gonna hook me up with that? I looked at her. I said, "What are you talking about?" To tell her real quick, I said, "What are you talking about?"
Right.
I said, "I saw your messages on your phone. We already know what it is. You want a
Right.
bill paid. You want this. You want that. Okay, that's no big deal. I got what I
Right.
needed out of the situation. So what's up? Hand me whatever." So I went ahead, took care of her, squared up. Then she had the nerve to tell me, "Well, I want to be in a long term relationship with you." I said, not with the way you dress,
No,
not with
no.
the way you look. I said, I
Right.
don't know. I have to tell you this, not with the way you carry yourself. The reason why I'm correlating this to Cece in a sense is not the mother part or anything like that. It's the mentality. When someone is a narcissist, their mentality is they can keep throwing the same thing at you over and over again and expecting you to think that you're just supposed to accept their behavior.
Right.
And I find that to be very annoying because it's like,
Right.
did I not tell you already? Why do I have to keep repeating this shit to you over and over and over
And
again?
that's the problem. That's why I tell people know the difference between the narcissistic traits that we all can have or exhibit sometimes and being a full blown narcissist. A full blown narcissist doesn't have the ability to adapt. They're going to continue to use. They're not going to have the ability to say, okay, well, everyone should be used but they should be used to their benefit and not misused. They don't have that mentality. They don't. But you being a DSM major, tell me if I wrote this part of the book right. With the main character with Sammy, because of because his ongoing trauma as a kid of being abused and sexually assaulted or molested, I don't I don't allow him to connect emotionally with a woman. Like as far as like fall in love with,
Mm-hmm.
I don't allow that to happen with him. He has women he's fond of. He has women and whenever he starts really liking a girl, he pushes them away. Kind of like
That's spot on. That's spot on.
yeah, kind of like she's too pure for me. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
he rather have just a good for nothing bitch that he just do whatever he want to do with, and then get back to the streets and shit. Vice a good wholesome woman because in his mindset he don't even know how to deal with a woman a girl his age like him that way because there's always been women older than him fucking with him. You know what I'm saying?
That's
So
spot on because it sticks to the diagnosis part of it instead of it sticking to you giving your opinion. Because that's the thing. When you're diagnosing someone, it's about the diagnosis. It's not about the opinion
right,
of the situation. So yeah, it's spot on.
right, and I was able to use myself and other niggas I knew in the streets, as an example, a lot of us had adult girlfriends, and we thought we was
Mm-hmm.
being something. We thought we was doing something cool. But truth be told, those women were preying on us. And why they were preying on us, when you act, when you something, certain things happen to you when you little,
Mm-hmm.
people who are predators, they can identify that type of thing in you, and they go after you. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And, but as we're 16, 15, 16, 17, we're thinking we're doing something by having these adult women. But these adult women they're not where they need to be socially and or mentally, because they're seeking out someone who's to their junior by so much,
Yep.
because that's the only type of man they can deal with. It's
Yep.
somebody that's to their junior. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So I put these dynamics in there because this is heavy in the black community. In the black community, it's not just men being with young girls they shouldn't be with. There's women being with young boys they shouldn't be with.
Facts.
And it's prevalent. It's prevalent, but nobody speaks about it. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? It's prevalent, but but nobody wants to speak on it. So I make sure that you trying to post that what I sent you. I thought you was gonna put it in the comments and pin it.
I'm gonna put it in the comments too. I'm
Okay.
putting them in both.
Yeah. So I made sure I had to do that because what's the use of talking about inner city shit if you just give people the violence and the drama, but you don't give it to them in a way to explain why the people are violent and drama, the
Mm-hmm.
drama field. You know what I'm saying? What leads up to that? And if we break it all down, a lot of it leads up to childhood neglect, abuse, and molestation.
Facts.
And it disconnects a part of you to where committing a crime ain't nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Being violent ain't nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You don't have that conscience that everybody else has. You might have a slither of it, but you don't have that compass that everyone else has that should have at that age, because being handled in such a way it kind of robs you of that. You know what I
And
mean?
I'm glad you said that because that goes back to what I was saying with using her as an example and talking about what happened with us yesterday or whatever. And Cece, people are the way that they are, and they're gonna continue to be the way that they are, and they're not gonna fucking change. And in Franklin's situation, unfortunately, 80 something percent of black men will react the way that Franklin will react. I'm just gonna be that 20% like you, because you're like that too, where I'm not gonna react that way in that situation
Well,
because I know what's presented in front of me. I know what you are. I'm
I
just not gonna allow you to
I got to be honest.
show me who you are and then just continue to just deal with who you are as a person. I'm just
I,
not gonna do that.
me from the gate,
Mm-hmm.
I, my situation different. He's first generation drug dealer, first generation drug dealer, first generation millionaire in his family. There was no example. The reason why I act the way I act is not because I'm a genius or some shit. I had examples of men, even men that was in the street. There was an
Yeah.
example, a principle of how to be. I was able to, I was able to do two things simultaneously that you can't do it nowhere else. But I was able to do it because I grew up in two worlds simultaneously. I was able
Mm-hmm.
to be a nigga who played chess and run in the streets, a nigga who read comic books and run in the streets, a nigga who
Mm-hmm.
went to church and have women. Those things normally are all separate genres.
Yep.
But I was able to do all this simultaneously because I observed the men who did those things, and I replicated what made sense. Who did Franklin have to replicate? So you know what I'm saying? So decisions that they wrote him to make, he had no choice but to make. $73 million on the line, you're gonna be perfectly normal and composed when you lose $73 million. Most of us can't lose $73,000 in one time.
No one's gonna be composed with that. No one. No
Hell
one.
no. You know what I mean? You're gonna lose it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
No one.
then you defeat a top level CIA agent, damn near get it back, and your mama fuck it up. You can't plan for that. You can't plan for that. In hindsight, you go, well, he should have known. Like, you can't plan for that. Who fucks up who ruins their own self just to bring you down?
I see what you're saying. I
You know
see
what
what
I'm
you're
saying?
saying. I
You
see
can't
what you're
plan.
saying.
Yeah.
My only agree to disagree with that is his mom was showing him who she was from day one. He just chose.
Not
I
that.
think he made. I think he
Yeah.
made. I think he made a choice a long time ago to just say, and we all do that. There's a person in our family. We all have a family member that's like that. To me, it's not my parents. It's more of a distant relative. I've come to terms that this person is the way that they are. It is
Yeah.
what it is. But I think he came to terms a long time ago that his mom is the way that she is, and he's gonna accept her, and he's gonna love her, and he's gonna have her next to him. And I think him having his mom was his identity for him in a sense to be able to feel like this is what family is in his mind because his father is not there and his mom was the one that raised him. I get all of that. But again, that bleeds right back into when you do have that mama's boy trauma, it makes you do certain things that are not quote unquote full masculine type traits.
How can
Because
you
when
be
you have,
masculine?
but
Yeah.
you're right. I'm speaking to
Yeah.
that. But I'm just making a point to kind of buffer your point. But I'm just doing it a different way. Um his mom, him not having that father presence created that blind spot to where he could not be able to decipher with his mom that yes, she is my mom, but I don't need her this close to the vest. If he had Alton around, there was no way the mom would be in those affairs
True.
with the situation that's going on with her being that close to where he can have her there while he's making a business transaction with Teddy. Now, unfortunately, he didn't have that. But what he did have in the show was there was one time where Uncle Jerome did give him a piece of advice, but he chose to ignore it. And this was early on. Uncle Jerome was telling him about his mom and was telling him that your mom, the reason why I don't mess with your mom be speaking two ways out of her mouth. She go about things one way. She always want to judge people things about people about one way, and then she want to do things another way. I felt like if there was anyone that from periodic moments, momentary moments that gave him some level of a man that was role modeling him and stuff like that. Because let's be honest, he was the one that kind of put him on into the business. Is Uncle Jerome. And there was a moment when Uncle Jerome told him that if he would have just fully locked in and took the advice, things could have been a little different in how his relationship was with his mom. I don't think it
Yeah.
sunk in. It didn't sink in when he had that moment. And he told him that because he did tell him, you
But
got
the
to be careful with your mom.
but the problem is what people don't understand about destiny and is what the end result is the end
Mm-hmm.
result no matter what you do. How you get the end result depends on how fast you meet your end. But
Mm-hmm.
the end result, he was going to end like that no matter what. So let's say he cuts his mother off. It just would have been
Mm-hmm.
somebody else who would have betrayed him. You know what I'm saying? It just so happened to be his mother. The end result is the end result. Even if he cuts his mother off, he could never in a million years would have thought his mother would shoot a CIA agent in point blank range in public in the public. You can't plan for that. Who
Well,
knows?
that's not far fetched because
Oh,
of the
that's
way the
very
mom.
far fetched. Most people
The
would
reason why
not do that.
I say no, I'm talking about just in that in the way that the storyline was developed. The reason why I say that is because the way the mom treated his father and then lied. She already showed you diabolical tendencies
Oh
in
yeah,
the way
yeah,
that she handled
yeah.
the father. She tried to
Remember,
make it make Franklin seem like she tried to make Alton seem like Alton wasn't shit. But
right?
then as you saw the storyline develop, it was just because of the fact that Alton reeled out of control because of how she dealt with him.
Is how she is, and
Yes.
she ended up doing the same shit to her son. But you're viewing it from a viewer.
Mm-hmm.
I need you to view it. You're Franklin. How the fuck
Yeah.
you gonna be able to see that? How you gonna be able to plan for your mama committing murder in front of everybody? Who does that? You can't plan for that. What you can do is you can kind of ease her out of the business, this, that, and the third, but you can't plan for that. Nobody can say she gonna do this. Because think about it.
I don't think he knew all the way that she would kill. I think he always was confident to know that in his mind, he had a blind confidence to think that she was always going to have his back. And he didn't think that she would have gone to that lengths to where she would hurt him. Right. But leading to that point, she was giving some red flags because she started reneging. She started reneging. She started now acting all brand new.
But
remember when they had Teddy? When they had Teddy in the
in the warehouse,
it was a vault. Was it in a vault?
In the warehouse,
in the warehouse. Yeah, they had him in the warehouse. She started acting brand new. She started getting really weird, and that's when, at that moment, he should have just pulled her to the side and been like, "Okay, what the fuck is going on?" Like, just have the conversation. I don't need the show to do no unrealistic things, but I would have loved the moment where he would have just said to her, like, "Hey, let's go talk outside." You know what I'm saying? And have that fucking talk with her. Like, what are you doing right now? Like, we got this motherfucker tied up. We about to go make this shit happen, and you're acting like Mother Teresa right now. What is going on? Like, she was doing.
No, you missed it. They did have that conversation. They did have that conversation. I guess you missed it. He said. He said, Teddy's playing you, man. Austin's gone.
I got to go back and watch that.
He's playing you. You know what I'm saying? But I say early on, I feel like it's realistic because why am I the way I am? Simply because I was the foster care and had a dad. Because even the men I was looking up to while I was with my mother, even they didn't have fathers either. So I was getting something, but I wasn't getting everything. I am the way I am because I ended up having a father I saw every day get up, go to work. I saw him handle himself. I saw him openly disagree with people and not care what they thought about. I saw him come back when he was too heavy-handed and say, you know what, I shouldn't talk to you that way. I was wrong for doing that. I learned a lot of shit about being a man from him that I could never have gotten. So that's why I'm like that. But I'm putting myself in Franklin's shoes. Franklin was pretty much the man of his family. Like, literally, he's the one who became a man. But Austin wasn't there. So Franklin pretty much had to learn all this shit on his own on the fly. How you gonna match wits with his mother when his mother know everything about him? He don't know everything about his mama. You know what I'm saying? The only one who could destroy him was his mother. How he know she gonna do it? You know what I'm saying? Like, how can you predict this motherfucker is gonna sacrifice herself to make sure I don't get the money that can change both of our lives? How can you predict that? You know what I mean? Now her getting in his way, he can predict that because she's been getting in his way. But it's always been a pain in the ass way.
But she was getting on that. She was starting to sound like his father, though. You know, and she was trying to get on this. She was starting to get on this. You know how people get in this. This is when it's not authentic, right? When people get on this, I changed the leaf, but you do it at the wrong fucking time. Right. So you're changing the leaf now. You're changing the corner now. Like you gotten this epiphany now, all of a sudden, all because someone was able to whisper in your ears, and that's someone you really can't trust. If they could just easily be convinced, they could easily be manipulated, because that's what Teddy did, and it worked. So, in all honesty, Franklin won the battle, but Teddy won the war, because Teddy got the mom to fucking shoot him, which got Franklin to lose out the money.
I saw that.
Out the money, and then the mom went to fucking jail.
I saw that, but I don't think that was Teddy's point. And
I don't think Teddy even knew that he was. I don't even think Teddy was.
And that's the reason why I don't give him that type of credit. I feel
he don't get credit for it because he wasn't even thinking that deep.
Yeah, I feel like
I just think Teddy was trying to save his skin. He didn't want to die.
Now I feel like Teddy totally lost the war. I feel like Franklin won the war, but he just couldn't get the spoils of the war. That's the reason
Okay.
why I related it to Toussaint over the shore. That's the reason why I related it to that, because Toussaint
Okay.
over the shore had thoroughly beaten France.
Yeah, he did.
Him and the Haitian people thoroughly beat France. And people say he did the Martin Luther King thing. No, he didn't. That's what generals are
Mm.
supposed to do. When a general wins, they go to the other general. The other general concedes defeat. They
Yep.
lay out the plan. This how shit gonna go. They
Yep.
didn't they didn't honor him the way they would have honored the white man, and they took
Yep.
him prisoner. That
Yep.
that was against war like principles, but they didn't give him that type of what's the name. Now
Great
the
point.
other guy come in because he just said, "Fuck it, we just gonna start killing everybody and shit."
Great
But the
point.
war, but the reason why he could just kill everybody like that, because the war had already been is over. Now they got complete control over Haiti. They can do whatever they want to anybody now. Because the war is
Yep.
over with. So they start killing all those white motherfuckers. Let's get rid of them. You know what I'm saying? But as far as the war, the actual combative war on the water, all that shit, I can't tell you nothing you don't know about your own people. He had thoroughly won, but he couldn't get the spoils. He had to live like a fucking prisoner for the rest of his days, like Franklin, and
Mm-hmm.
destitute, because he was robbed of the spoils. And but
Right.
Teddy's Teddy's arrogance got him killed. He thought not for a million years this woman gonna kill me in front of a real CIA agent in broad daylight. You know what I mean? Yeah. Now since I done lost to your son, let me talk shit to you. Like, yeah, I killed that motherfucker. What the fuck you gonna do about it? And then,
Exactly.
and then he got smoked. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
that's smoke.
But
Yep.
they're gonna show you right there. They're gonna show you right there. Like Franklin's actions are different if his uncle wasn't a weed peddler, if his uncle was the real man, and he could learn from his uncle how to deal with these situations. But his uncle
Meaning
was
you would have took it more seriously.
he would have known how to who to work with, who to do. But his uncle was a small.
Meaning when his uncle warned him about the mom's double-sided ways, you're saying he would have took it more
He was taking
seriously if the
serious because he
uncle
was saw action in his own life. How you gonna tell
got
me about my mom when your old lady said I got more control of your old lady than you do?
you.
I could watch the show over. He had more control over Louis
Yeah, he
than
did.
Uncle Jerome did.
He did. That part you right.
You know
That
what I'm
part you
saying?
right.
But
It
the
was
problem is
obvious.
the reason why he could see Louis come a mile away and not see his mother, because that was his mother. That's the difference. He had the intelligence to figure it out. He like Louis. He said, "This ain't got nothing to do with Jerome. You the one doing this." He's able to peep that, but he couldn't peep his own mom because who can?
Mm-hmm.
Who knows your mother gonna be your out like that? You know what I'm saying? Like the shit that narcissists do, and when they're part of your family,
See,
and you
now it becomes a thing. It's crazy that we have to say this as men, but now it becomes a thing as men where we even now have to pay attention to our own mother.
your
And
own family.
it's sad that I have to say this, but I have to say it. We have to female nature even our own mother, because I think what we do as men is we insulate our mother. We say our mother is the only woman that we don't put in that same category, right? We
Right.
put her in a different category. We say because she's our mom, we don't female nature her. But we have too much intel. We have life. We have since the beginning of time up until now that tells us they they use hypergamous natures against us as their son.
Even that.
So we need to female nature even them. That's kind
And,
of crazy.
and the reason
Because if
why
we don't do that, we'll find ourselves in a position as sons doing shit in life where it could cause us life and death consequences if we're listening to our mom's decision making on shit, man. That shit is crazy.
it's crazy. And that's the reason why, even as a lad, even before I went to foster care, I was able to pick up on the fact that she would say one thing and do another. So I would leave, go to my aunt house, go to my grandmother's house, live with my grandmother, shit like that. After we'll have a fight or whatever, but that she still had her claws in me, and this is how I say she still had her claws in me, because you grow up seeing worst thing a woman could do is let her son raise her son growing up seeing her struggle.
Yep.
It's the worst thing you could do because that's how he's introduced to other women. So now when he sees other women struggling, he thinks it's his responsibility
Ability.
to make sure she don't struggle because nobody was there for my mom.
Yep.
So even though I had the mentality to know when to buck, and I wasn't like a mom underneath my mom like a lot of niggas was, I still had that mama's boy mentality of feeling if I fuck with somebody, I can't see them, I can't let them struggle. I need to be there for them because nobody was there for my mom. Well, really, those two things don't have nothing to do with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where she still had her talents. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
And that's why this show is so deep. And if I did my job right with this book, I hopefully this book is as deep as well. Because I took my personal experience, shit that I heard my friends say. Because when you in the hood, your homeboys, they don't have nobody. Sometimes you hear the darkest shit that's happening in their life. They don't have nobody to go to therapy. Their mama don't give a fuck. Your homeboys like, yo, yeah, my stepfather beat me up for no reason. Like, you got to hear all of this shit. You know what I mean? So you realize it's not just you. It's not just you. Like, this shit is happening all around. And it's a lack of men for whatever reasons. Because all men ain't get pushed out by the woman. Some men just cowards. It's the lack of men around, and it's the diabolical nature of some mothers that will put boys in a situation to where they go outside for that connection, for that camaraderie. There ain't no man at home. Men are going to go find like-minded men. Unfortunately for a lot of us, it's just people. It's just boys. There's no men out there, so you confide in them boys, and they teach you. Like I wrote in the book. I put in a scenario that happened to me. You know how I learned how to ride a bike? Nobody taught me how to ride a bike. Like my uncles, they was in jail. Them niggas, they wasn't able to, my mother, she ain't teach me how to ride. The niggas in the hood taught me how to ride a bike. My homies, my age. You know what the fuck they said? See, they was right. They was guiding me like, how your dad was. They was like, nah. They're like, you just get on that motherfucker and you pedal, man. And if you fall, you fall. Yep. And then you just get up and try to pedal longer. That's how I learned how to ride. The niggas in the hood taught me how to ride a bike through pain, nigga. You know what I'm saying? Like, so and I had to put that in there so people to realize there's a subgroup of people coming up in the inner city who all they have is street niggas. They don't have that male figure, so they're gonna find it by any means. You know what I'm saying?
That's why I agree with that comment, even in the last live with the boxing live, but it applies here when one of the commentators said, man, you need thugs in boxing. Well, what he was basically trying to say was you need real as fuck individuals with real mindsets in that realm. But that's with everything in life. You need real as fuck individuals and real mindsets in everything in life. And Franklin's just real dude. And I don't knock him. I don't knock what he did because I understood.
Nah, I love what you're doing. You just
I understand the reasoning behind it.
Right. You're just presenting the counter argument. I love what you're doing. You know what I'm saying?
But I understand why he did it, and I understand why it's a prevalent thing in our community, and why over 80% of us as Black men deal with that, right? But I feel like the responsibility we have for this generation and generations moving forward after that, is say, hey, we still love our mothers, but we also now have to put them in the light to where we got to question we have to question their motives,
right?
Because all of their motives sometimes may not be in my benefactor. They may not come from an unconditional loving standpoint. It may come from a selfish standpoint and using me and the fact that I'm the son as a crutch to push the selfish motive that he has. Exactly.
And one thing I realized he knows, man, is with most people, even the most well-intentioned people, the majority of the shit that they do comes from a selfish point because it's more about self-preservation. What's good for me?
Yep.
And and that's not necessarily nefarious. What's nefarious is when you push what's good for you on so many that you don't care what's good for others.
Facts.
But getting something that's good for you while giving something good for somebody else, a fair exchange is no robbery.
There's no robbery.
So if you could get somebody to do something for you, but then on the back end you do something for them, you there's no robbery. You're not really
There's no robbery.
manipulating them. You helping them.
Nope.
Manipulation is when you could offer nothing for them, but you get everything you want out of them. But you can't offer
Mm-hmm.
nothing, and you can't. And if you can, you refuse to.
Yep.
That's manipulation. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. And I think the highest form of the manipulation is when you know you can offer them something,
You
but you
refuse
choose
to.
not to do it. You refuse it because
Right.
you know deep down that um you just still want to get what you want to get out of it. And I
Right.
think that right there to me is the worst form of it and the worst variation of it. And that's what Cece was doing to Franklin. She knew she could manipulate her son, and she knew she could always pull that extra over the top dramatic card whenever she wanted to. And
Right.
that wasn't her shooting Teddy was like the chickens coming to roost, but she's had those kind of moments
Throughout the whole show.
at least, and I'm talking about like in that most traumatic form at least 4 or 5 times, man.
Right.
When Alton was missing, she showed it, and how she
Right.
was blaming Franklin and everything. It's your fault, blah 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 blah. When she was going through that period when she came to the realization this is what Franklin was doing, when she finally caught up with Franklin, because there was that period of time she didn't know that she suspected that he was doing, he was
Right.
into being a drug dealer, but she didn't know. So then how she tried to shame him when she was no better herself, coming to
Yep.
find out, you found out that she was kind of doing backdoor deals
Right.
in the business, in the nursing home business that she was running or whatever. So she wasn't even quote unquote having no skeletons in her closet either.
Right.
And then the other times when she tried to shame Uncle Jerome and Aunt Louie, when in actuality, Uncle Jerome and Aunt Louie, Uncle Jerome and Aunt Louie was only doing what two black adult people would do if they don't have a 9 to 5. They got to make ends meet.
Right.
They got to figure it out.
Right.
So
Right. First of
they
all,
got to live their lives,
yeah.
and they're grown.
Right. Right. And secondly, if your son had everything that he needed at home, then you want to be over here like that. He's over here because there's
Exactly.
something lacking at the crib.
Yep.
Your baby father lives about 8 blocks away on the concrete. You have no problem with that. And you only take him in after you feel shame because the state brought him to your the state got your attention and say, hey, this man need a place to stay. You did it
Fact.
because the narcissists don't like to be showed up. So
They
they'll
don't.
so if they feel like their appearance will take a hit, they'll do something they don't really want to do. And in the midst of her doing that, she saw that she could be used, so she kept him around. It's just total narcissistic all the way through, bro.
And she did it, and the fourth time she did it was when she found out that this is the woman Franklin's with. He got a kid with, but she had to be the number one focal woman, the number one focal point as a woman in his life. So then when shit go left between her and the baby moms, who wasn't the baby moms but his wife at the
Right,
time, when shit goes left with the wife, the mom has to then create her dominant figure of, okay, if it's not going to go my way, then I'm going to disappear. So she does
right,
that to make Franklin feel guilty because he doesn't have her for a certain period of time, to the point to
right.
where even the wife had to acquiesce to her emotional baggage with that shit. So
But
she's shown some shit throughout the show multiple times, man.
right, but and that's the reason why Franklin was like, she was like, so if you do this, it, she went between two extremes. She went from trying to save Teddy life to talking about she gonna kill the nigga. You know what I mean? All of the same people, and people are fighting to be talking about she not a narcissist. She went from trying to save the nigga life, saying you don't need to do this, to
Yep.
saying if you turn them in, if you turn them in for this money, you wrong. It
Yep.
was all about her control.
Bro.
Then she said, if you never see me again, are you gonna be good with that? And he stood next to his family. That's what he's supposed to do.
Yep.
At this
But
point, he
here's the,
chose
but
his
here's the
family.
thing: him turning in Teddy would have been the best would have been the best solution to the scenario, because it would have exposed this corruption in the CIA. She wasn't looking at the bigger picture, and justice would have been gotten for Alton. Yes, you don't get Alton back, but you got a
Nah, nah, nah.
guy. who's been operating as a corrupt CIA agent for all of these years, it blows up the agency and a bigger picture.
No. Franklin was turning. This is why I keep telling people Teddy was going to die anyway. Franklin was turning Teddy over back to the CIA. Yeah, so the CIA needs to be separate from Teddy because Teddy has already been exposed. They getting him so they can kill this motherfucker, right?
Yes.
None of the other government know what Franklin been doing, and the ones who do know, they can't prove it. That's why they only went after who? Louis, not Franklin.
They had an agreement. They were gonna kill Teddy, but when they kill you, right? Before they kill you, because they know the shit is gonna hit the fan, right? The news is gonna come out.
They out you as the only person.
Out you. They disassociate themselves. That's what they were gonna do, which would have been the bigger picture thing. But the mom didn't see that, and this right here shows you why
she didn't give a fuck at all.
But this shows you why men should always be the ones to lead and not women, because when women lead, look what ended up happening.
Well, she wasn't leading; he was leading. She was there.
No, when I say lead, in the sense she led the situation to chaos when she pulled the trigger.
Oh yeah, but she wasn't. She wasn't
pulled the trigger. If she would have let the situation be led the way that Franklin led it, to where Teddy gets turned over, Teddy gets outed, their family is washed clean, he has money, he could take care of his mom and them for the rest of their lives, and his wife is only doing female nature to the highest degree, highest order. She's only being hypergamous. Honestly, I don't blame her, because at the end of the day,
his wife was the most loyal person to him in the whole show.
Exactly. At the end of the day, if you don't bring value to a woman, they're not gonna be around no more. It is what it is.
But she would have stayed around him. What she didn't realize is, or at least she took it for granted, that Franklin has become now a murderer.
Yep.
Which means push to a certain point. If pushed to a certain point, he could murder anybody because he wouldn't do that much shit. So she took that for granted. And Franklin took her for granted because she was the only one that was really in her corner. She only left and did what she did, how she did it, because at the end of the day, if you put that much work in it, you're gonna take something with you. But she left when he started becoming homicidal towards her. Yeah, like he ain't just grabbing by her wrist; he grabbed around her neck, like bitch. You know what I mean? Like he had flipped. He lost 73 million. Like I'll fuck around and kill you, bitch. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So she had to get up out of there, but. I think Sissy low key put a wedge between him and her because she couldn't stand him being replaced by his wife. She couldn't
stand him being in a misery loves company. She couldn't stand the fact that he was in an actual family situation,
right?
A full family situation, and she wasn't.
Yeah, she
but
wasn't.
Again, that's why I said when now from our generation moving forward, we need to start seeing these red flags with our mothers. When we see that our mother can treat us in certain instances like any other woman would, we need to check them, man, and we need to redirect them back to where they belong. It doesn't have to be a heavy hand like you do with the chicks that you with because it's your mother, but the checking needs to be made known that, hey, you can't handle me. You're trying to handle me right now. Because that's what a lot of mothers do. They try to handle their sons. And the son needs to make it clear, you're not going to handle me in this situation.
If it's simple manipulation, yeah. But if it's you're dealing with an actual narcissist, then you can't even check a narcissist. What you have to do with them is totally fade them out of your life, man. Because they will never change. They'll just find a new way to come at you. You know what I'm saying? But they'll never change. You know what I mean? So if it's a full-blown narcissist, you have to low-key just fade their ass out, man. That's slowly but surely, you know what I'm saying? But but and I hope that I'm able with my book to bring these type of emotions and this type of texture and complexity to these characters because I wanted to bring it all out. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to bring out the effects of fatherless homes. I wanted to bring out the effects of a manipulative mother. I wanted to bring out how men really feel, how they really feel about their mothers, but don't say it. The resentfulness. Because even these these mama's boys, they love their mother out of feeling obligated, but they really have some pent up resentment that they take out on other women. You know what I'm saying? But it's really the resentment that their mother had caused by by, by doing like little underhanded shit, but they take it out on other women. You know what I'm saying? So I wanted to bring all that into fruition. You know what I mean? And I'm just hoping that when, this is one of those books that people read that it's that they don't forget. It's not just entertainment. It's entertaining, but I didn't want to write something. I wanted to write something that was gripping, something that when you're done reading, hopefully the feeling I had when I was done writing the book is the feeling they had when they was done reading. When I was done writing, I would. Who is it? All right, hold on.
Yeah.
Take over for a little bit, bro.
Yeah, man. So the bottom line of what Ross was basically saying, and it's very clear. And that's my problem with CC. CC, her issue is CC just has this big fundamental problem. You see what's going on right now? You see what's going on in the background? This is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
The CC type behavior. Here's what happened. I called you, I text you, the narcissistic type behavior. What you got to deal with. And this is what Ross is dealing with in the background. He handled it. He G-checked it. This is the shit that we talking about. The CC type behavior. Always trying to make things seem like it's in your favor when in actuality it's fucked up.
The next person may not do all I did. I don't like
You see what's going on? You see what's going on? Close again. 1,000%. Now she about to go get Franklin. This is what we're talking about, man. But
I'm glad this happened. I'm glad we stayed on long enough for this to happen.
Yeah, and I'm glad I talked about it.
Yeah, but you kind of mistaken. That was the delivery lady, and she brought a package of my books. I just ordered it. I ordered a package of my books to sell.
Okay. I'm glad you broke it down. That's what it was.
Yeah, and for some reason, Amazon got my address fucked up, but. Here it goes.
Oh, there you go. Brick by brick.
By brick.
How many pages, man?
269.
Okay. I'm gonna make sure I get my order in.
Man, this shit. Man,
it's surreal now.
It's surreal, man. Like,
how many copies you got in there? One or you got multiple?
No, I ordered 15. I got to take one to the barbershop.
Okay.
To my barber so he could pass that around.
Gotcha.
Take a few over there and take a few to the salon where I get my hair braided, so they can pass me around and go and get the word of mouth started. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I'm talking about.
But man, people don't realize how much I put into this. I put my all into every book I wrote, but this is one of them where I had to talk about multiple traumas. And I had to get in depth with them. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so I really hope this resonates with people, man. I really do.
It's gonna resonate. When I get my order, I'm gonna go ahead and read it, man. Definitely gonna read it. That's why I want y'all to go out and order brick by brick. Look at the man. You can see in his face, man. It's surreal. That's his work. When you could tell when it's somebody's work, it's something about you seeing your work come into play and you seeing it on actual paper and you seeing it right in front of you. It's a surreal feeling every time. And that feeling never goes away. Never goes away. If anything, it's a recurring thing each and every single time, man. So how you feel right now? Now you see your own book in front of you, the 269 pages, every thought process you had to go through, The fact that you had to get it, edited and all of that, and now all
Yeah,
that's done and over with. It's actually a book.
man. Because when you write something, right? I
Mm,
feel if you care about the art of writing, not just writing to make money, you're attached to it. Like everything I write, I'm attached to. It's kind of like a child, you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So it can never be the level. It can never be the full level of when you hold a baby that
Mm,
come out of you and they get cultivated in a woman, but it's near that level. You
gotcha.
know what I'm saying? Like you put your all into it. You hope that people like you hope someone understand your children. You hope that they progress. You know what I mean? It's like it don't have a soul, but it has a literary soul, so to speak. You know what
Gotcha.
I'm saying? And you're like, man, I hope people understand this. I hope people give it a chance. You know what I mean? Like,
I
you know what I
can
mean?
relate.
Yeah, it's just man. And when you feel it, it's just you know what I'm saying?
The
I
color,
don't
the
know.
color, perfect, man. Brick by brick, the red color. What? Why red?
Um,
Outside of the obvious.
I kind of feel like at the end of the day, a lot of the streets is is blood and it's DNA related. Like a lot of people are born into that environment. A lot
Mm,
of people are born into the streets. A lot of people made their bones, shed blood, or got their blood shed in the streets. You know what I'm saying? Um, there's money, and you could say it's about money, but at the end of the day, it's really about the blood, sweat, and tears. Think about it. Franklin could have walked away. He had like what 800 some thousand in the bank, but he put too much work in.
yep.
73 million.
Yep. That's
Bro,
a lot.
this nigga gonna give me this money. Cause it wasn't
That's
a
a lot.
government. If it was a government seizure, he would be shot of luck.
Yep.
That was one dude stole from another, and I know who he is. Nah, I'm about to get this money. He couldn't quit. He was about
And
to
that's
quit. He tried to walk away.
liquid. That's liquid money, man.
Yeah, he said, "Nah, I'm going to go get that, man. Yeah, if y'all
Yep.
can't understand that, y'all got to get out my way. You
And the
feel me?
principle behind it, and because it's all the blood, really, the money part is secondary. The primary part is everything that he did
To get
to
it
put himself in the position of getting that money.
right,
It's the principle, basically. And he
man. You
wasn't
know,
gonna let nobody get in the way of his principles.
man, you don't understand, bro.
I see you, man. I see the look. I see the look. The looks. Man, listen. The way you look right now, that's the way I look when I do the put the work I put in when it comes to my Airbnb, and then the reviews that I get. It's like that feeling with the book when I get
Yeah,
the reviews online on how people say how they went to my place. It was the best place, the cleanest place. It felt like home. Man, I see that look that you have on your face. That's the look I get, man. It's that look like this is what I was able to create. This is the experience that I was able to give somebody, and the fact that that person sees it in my lens, or they could relate to it, they could relate to the work. So when I see your face, I see that it's that same face, man. That's how I get. Sometimes you get in that, oh, like I put this together, man. This is from my hands, you know.
because people got to understand. I've been writing stories and like shit like since like the second grade. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if they had this in Miami, but there was this thing called the Young Authors program
Yeah.
where you know you create a cover, you write a
Mm-hmm.
story, blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
Blah. So every time I do this, I feel this way, but this time it's elevated because I just how much of me I put into this. Just how much when I say me is not just my personal experiences, it's the umbrella of my friends, my family, and everything within my side of hearing. That's all me. You know what I'm saying? Like
And then the action, and what's interesting is the fact that you are already covering the Snowfall show, and the way you were breaking the show down, the reason why it was different than everybody else is because you were able to correlate a lot of your life experiences within the interwovening of what was going on within the show, whereas other
right,
people were just breaking down
Talk
what
about
they saw
show.
from the show from a viewership standpoint. And I
Right.
think that's what made yours more relatable, and it gave it more of a, you know, straightforward, but why it hit harder to people because other people started seeing themselves in those characters, the
Right.
storylines, and everything like that. And that's when you know you have something that's great, or you have a great product, or you present something that's great to the world. When people can see you, or they can relate to the circumstance the way that you could relate to it, even if it's in a similar way, that's when you know it's going to hit. So this
Right.
brick by brick book is going to do great things because watch when you go to the barbershop, when you go to the salon, and people and the ones that you know, it's the word of mouth is always a beautiful thing when you hit men with it and you hit women with it. But unfortunately, we live in a world where, you know, we would want more of our men to read, but they just don't. They just experience. The women, when you take it to that salon, they once they get to that reading, boy, you go see the next time you come back, not
Right.
this time around, but the next time you come around after that, when you get your hair braided, don't be surprised if they start quoting things in certain pages that you're gonna be like, damn, that's like page 86. You went
Right.
in that deep? That's page
Right.
106. You're gonna start seeing them bring up those quotes. And then that's when you're gonna, I think that's when it's gonna hit harder, even harder. Because that's when it's gonna show people actually taking the time out to read the material, to really invest themselves in your work. So definitely, man, I salute you. And that's why when you said, hey man, let's do a live for that, I'm always gonna do a live for anything that's gonna be for the betterment of someone that is self-improving, and not only self-improving, living their purpose out, man.
I appreciate that, man.
If you're not living your purpose out in this life,
You're
you're
not
wasting
living.
time, man.
You're not living
Literally.
until
Exactly.
you
You're wasting
until
time.
you get to the point to where you're living out your purpose. You're not living.
Yep.
No matter how good you think you're living, there's a part of you that's being strangled, is being smothered. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, man, and that was just perfect timing that happened, bro. You know what I'm saying? Because when she said Amazon, I looked at the date. I was like, oh, they 2 days early, but I knew what it was because this is all I ordered. You know what I'm saying? I knew what it was. I was like, oh shit. And then I'm totally I'm totally I'm totally satisfied with it too, man.
I'm so proud of you, bro.
This how the back cover look right here.
Whew. Yeah, that's you, boy.
Yeah,
Woo!
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, the back cover is tight.
yeah.
The back cover.
It got my face in one of those old school BMWs.
Yep. Yep. That's tight, man. I like the way you did that.
Man. Yo, so I ain't gonna hold you up no longer. I appreciate this, man.
Nah, no problem, bro. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about, man. Pushing um someone's purpose, but also showing love for my brother, man, because that's why I have the tag up for the Amazon link. Y'all need to go there, order the book, buy 30 of them books, man. Each of y'all should be buying 30 of them damn books. I'm about to go order mines today. So he'll know me because he knows my unique name, but I'm gonna order mines today, and
Appreciate
then
you.
we'll go from there, man. Other than that, Ross, once again, this was a great live.
Great
We
line.
had we had our moment where we had to give an opposing viewpoint because again, this speaks to us as individuals. We see things differently, you know, and hopefully you guys were able to see that even in us seeing it differently, we both wanted the best out of the scenario. And I
Right,
hope that the men that are listening in, the biggest takeaway is what Snowfall was able to show, what Ross's book from the microaggressions that are being shown from the emphasis between the mom and the son, because we harped on that a lot. You need to really start paying attention. Even if you're an older man and your mom's older, pay attention to when your mom is doing things that are not self that are self-centered as opposed to unconditional. And
right,
when it becomes a self-centered thing, you need to check her, man. You need to have that conversation with her and don't let her handle you because she thinks in her mind, because you're my son and I'm your mother, I can handle you. No, at the end of the day, she needs to know that that is not tolerable. That is not okay, and it's not acceptable. No one should handle anyone, and no one should be able to feel that they should be handled because we're flesh and blood. No, it doesn't work like that. That doesn't fly.
Right. Man, like I said, thank you for your platform. My platform right now, when it comes to the live streams, I'm still in the I'm still in the danger zone. So,
Gotcha.
but thank you for opening up your platform, man, and everything. I feel like this was a good live, man. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I felt like that
Real
too,
live.
man.
Yeah,
I felt like that too because a lot was said, everything was addressed, and now I see the feeling you got, and you're gonna be like that the rest of the day. It's that high,
yeah,
man. You're gonna be on that high, bro.
yes indeed,
It's like you smoke some weed without smoking weed right now. You're on a high right now.
yes
It's obvious.
indeed,
It's written
man.
all over your face.
Yes indeed, man. Whenever you feel your own, when you're a writer and you feel your own, like the tangible,
Mm-hmm.
you already feel good when you release it.
Mm-hmm.
You go checking everything. Even sometimes editors miss certain things. Sometimes you gotta republish it. You're checking
Yep.
everything, you release it, and you're like, "Oh, that feels good." But once you get it, you make a paper copy or hard, and you get it in your hands. It's just a different level, bro. Like you know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
It's just a different level, man. For real.
All right, bro. Well, congratulations. Salute to you, man. And at the end of the day, y'all need to go get Brick by Brick. The link has been up forever. The Amazon link's been up forever. Make sure y'all go ahead and copy and paste the link. Y'all know how to do it, man. Everybody's
Right.
got some level of computer savviness. So go ahead and copy and paste the link. Go to Amazon, order the book, buy 30 of them motherfuckers, each of y'all, and support my brother, man. At the end of the day with Tom Ross. It's been
Appreciate it.
real, bro. It's been a great live. Enjoy the rest of your day, man. We'll chop it up again on Friday, bro.
All right, bro.
All right,
Peace.
peace.